To welcome to us, Yuan. Hi, Yuan. Good to have you on the call today. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
Yeah, really, really well. A little bit like rushed because I know that we had a kind of time zone kind of conversion problem. So I just rushed back. But yeah, other than that, really, really good. Really excited to share kind of the AI side of things today.
Okay, great. Good to have you. Please, you can start now. You have the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. So let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can actually see it. Just give me a second. Let me drag you to the side of the screen for a sec and share my screen. Can you see? Oh, actually, it's going to the website. Give me a sec. I want to share not just the window, the entire screen. There we go. Hopefully you can see the presentation now. Okay, one sec. Okay, perfect. I can see thumbs up, so we're good to go. You can't really see my screen right now, but I have two screens on my setup today, and the other screen's populated with like the next slide of PowerPoint. Is confusing me a little bit, so bear with me. So today we're going to talk about rapid prototyping using AI. In terms of today's agenda, it's going to be a mix of theory and hands-on experience. So here's what we're going to go through in the next hour in terms of what we are going to do together. So we're going to firstly talk about which part of the product workflow AI can add in the most value. So I'm going to go through why we're focusing on specific bits. And then I'm going to give you the tools that I personally recommend using for AI prototyping. These are the toolings that we have been testing quite a lot within my own company, and we have settled down in those three tools. And also the foundations you need in order to prompt AI the right way. So obviously there is the buzzword of prompt engineering, which is really, sounds very complicated, but actually the theory behind it is quite straightforward. We're going to go through that in a bit. And then I don't want you to just walk away with theory. I want you to making sure you have hands-on experience. So we're going to do three kind of hands-on AI prototyping today. So we're going to do a use case where we are going to create a visualization of the data dashboard. We are going to do another use case where we are doing existing feature enhancement, which is quite common in the product world. And then we're going to do a last use case, which is create a completely new product from ground up. So all of this actually able to do that in this hour, because AI is very powerful, which you'll be able to see in a bit. And the last bit will then wrap up in terms of you will be introduced to quite a few AI tools today. How do you decide which one is the right fit for what you're looking for? And then we'll wrap up in terms of how do you then fast track your prototype into production. So things like how do you hook up with the backend? Can you publish to a custom domain? And this is great if you are in a startup, you don't have a legacy code base, or if you're just doing a side hobby project, this would be perfect for you. My intention is to make this interactive. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please do unmute your mic, just speak up, or just populate in the chat. I probably need somebody to remind me somebody has dropped in the chat because I do get carried away. Please don't wait until the end of the presentation because you probably will forget what your question is or the context of it. Does that sound good so far? Can you just drop me an emoji or a chat so I know it's all good? Okay. Awesomeness. Right, so let's kick off the theory part firstly. So where do we actually want to focus on product management journey? This is a product management workflow, obviously a oversimplified version, but it still gives you a kind of end-to-end view of what we really need to think about when it comes to go from the idea all the way to launching into the market. So obviously we have the ideation and screening. We then get into define what is the opportunity and plan what we can go after. And then we're probably much spending, I want to say 50% time minimum here in terms of design and prototype, how you want something to work. And then you validate with users and test if that there's a actual demand and willingness to pay in the market. And obviously, once you have fully fleshed out your idea, then that go into development and then launch and commercialization, mainly because we're spending the majority of time in this loop. And this is where we have most dependencies. This is where I personally feel like most product teams are actually getting the most benefit from here. And that's why I'm really focusing on rapid prototyping, which is this area. You can probably see I put a lot of logos underneath. So for product workflow, there is a tool on every step on the way. But really at the end of the day, to get most out of your AI experience, I would definitely say if you can focus on prototyping and validate user testing, you will get more out of your AI tools. So in terms of prototyping and validation, not only you'll be able to get feedback faster, but also you will see later today that a lot of the things that we do, it's kind of blurry, that boundary between you and your design team, between you and your engineering team. So historically, let's say that if you want to add a form in the onboarding process, you probably need a design team to design what that form looks like. You need to see it. You then need to pass the engineering team to create what that may look like to make a prototype work. Whereas you can take all of that on yourself now. You can do that really, really quickly and really easily so that your design partners and your engineering partners can focus on the higher level work. So for example, what are the new product segments you want to go after in 2026? Things like that. And also, you can see a screenshot here. One thing I really get my product managers to do now is they need to create a very high fidelity kind of prototypes so that they can then share that in their ADO, so Azure DevOps or Jira, depending on which kind of backlog software you're using. So we now have incorporated AI prototypes as part of the acceptance criteria, because then it's very easy to explain to teams like, okay, how do we want the filter to work? What are the buttons on the screen? How does the button journey looks like? So all of that really minimize the confusion and what you actually need to do. So that's what we kind of introduced into the product validation story writing now as well. In terms of tools to use for a end-to-end prototype creation, I would say these ones are the ones that we will explore most of these ones today. And these ones are what I personally recommend in terms of your product workflow. So before all of this, actually, you want to think about the problem in your brain before you talk to AI. This is something I'm really passionate about, because the moment you talk to AI without thinking, you are starting to lose that critical thinking muscle, which is really, really important for us PMs. And that's what will separate you out from the other PMs who are heavily relying on AI, right? It's not just the ability to use AI, it's the ability to do critical thinking. And I'll give you an example later in one of the use cases. You'll see how thinking before you ask AI is so important, because then you can prompt the right way. So in general, I would say ChatGPT, DeepSeek, obviously this is a kind of like, I planned this slide a few months ago. I kind of reusing the slide in different webinars, but really nowadays you have much more options, right? You have Gemini, you have Microsoft Copilot, which in my opinion are now pretty much at the same level now in terms of helping you to clarify your acceptance criteria, help you to write a PRD, which is your product requirement document, help you to set your MVP, so minimal viable product, help you to figure out the iterations of it and figure out the edge case of that. So you want to making sure you think before you talk to AI, and then when you chat with AI, it's pretty much fleshing your idea out even more. Then if you want to visualize it, there's two paths to go. So the first path is you can use Claude. So Claude is really good at creating, like, for example, a data dashboard that you don't need it to look like your brand, look like existing in your product already, and you can get really quick feedback. You can definitely use Claude for that. Or you can use tools like Bolt, Lovable, or V0.dev. So we're going to introduce you to Lovable and V0.dev today. These are the two main tools we're going to use. There is free registration, so we're going to go through that in a second. And these you can create functional demos. So these are actually high fidelity prototypes. So what I mean by that is you can literally apply your brand color, you can apply your brand font, all the other things. You can hook it up to Figma if that's your design team's using. So when you create a prototype, it almost looks like that already exists in your code base already, which is fantastic for your sales team to then use for customer demo and get early customer feedback. So that's kind of the tools that we're going to introduce you to today. And then in terms of foundation for prototyping, a lot of times I think about in 3 different levels. So I think about prototyping almost like how you're building up a big building. When you think about it, you're building, let's say, a Amazon warehouse. They need a lot of square footage, right? They need massive flooring. Whereas if you're trying to build one of the skyscraper in Dubai, you don't need as much of foundation, but you need a really deep foundation because you're building very tall. So it's really, really important for you to figure out what is the foundation you're trying to build over here. Are you trying to build a warehouse or are you trying to build a skyscraper? And from the AI context, that's basically why are you building certain things? So you need to treat AI like you would treat your design partner, your engineering partner. You want to making sure you are giving enough context. So a lot of time I see people come in and give a prompt, people like, okay, add this button here, or do this, do that. You normally would not be able to get as much good value compared to if you say, okay, I am in the SaaS finance industry, and our typical customer is, people who are looking for a credit card, for example, and they are normally at a higher risk profile. If you give all of this context, when AI kind of designing things, they will take those contexts into consideration. You will get much better output that way. So you want to making sure you don't just tell it what to do. You need to give it context. The next thing, when you think about building your building, right, it's how many floors you need to build it. Is that just 1 floor warehouse? Is it multiple floors? How many floors there are? So this is basically your functionality. So what kind of functionality you want within your web app, right, or your mobile app? Is it the registration journey? How many personas are you serving? So once I log in, how does it know which personas I am? Do I see a different login screen depending on what user time I buy? And like, what is that? How does a button take me to where, what journey? So you need to really think about all the functionality you need to introduce to a function app. And after you have decided context functionality, the last thing, this is the last bit that you then need to do, is the user journey. So think about how do you decide the layout of a floor, right? So how many rooms there are, what is function of each room. So this is your user journey. For example, you can say, okay, for my function app, I want to making sure that user can register. Then you need to, after you give all the criteria in terms of what functionality you need for your function app, you then can explain, I want the register button on the top right of the corner, because that's what people are used to. When I click onto it, I want to be able to have a pop-up page where allow me to log in through Google directly, or Facebook, or register with email password. So you need to be really detailed and specific as well. The more detailed information you give to AI, the more likely you're going to get exactly what you have in mind. The more loose you are, the less the chances you're going to get a good experience with AI. So really, you want to start with a real problem, not just a feature. You don't want to just give it a what to do, but also give the context around it, especially users' pain point. You want to making sure all your prompts are clear and specific. For example, we'll talk about target users. What is the jobs to be done? What is the key output you're expecting? Are you expecting a clickable prototype? Are you just expecting a wireframe that, consume various, very, very different number of credits depending on what you're looking for? And any constraints that you have, right? Do you want to set security in certain places? And also, you need to consider your edge cases and finalize your ideal workflow in a chat mode, which I will show you in a bit. But basically, chat mode require much less credit compared to your build mode. So, all these AI tools, they have different models. Like Gemini, I think have Gemini 3 coming out, like very, very powerful, but you can definitely use the smaller version of Gemini for like chat day-to-day, but then you'll use a bigger model to create prototypes, and that will consume much more credit. So if you want to making sure that your AI credits can be stretched as long as possible, you really want to, number one, leverage multiple AI tools. Number two, when you making sure you're using the right model for what you're trying to do, right? So if you're literally having a back and forth, refining your ideas, don't do that in Lovable, right? That's going to use like a really powerful model to do a very simple thing. It's pretty much like you are trying to cut a thread with a giant knife, right? You don't need that. Just get a small scissors to do the smaller jobs, and then use the bigger powerful models to do what you actually need to do. So that's kind of pretty much the theory part of it. Any questions so far before we move into the hands-on build experience? I'm gonna take a minute to sip my water and see if any questions come up. It's all quiet. Can we get the slides afterwards? Yes, you can get the slides afterwards. I'll send to the organizer so that slide can be circulated. Any other questions? Okay, it looks like we are good with questions, but as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, do stop me. Feel free to unmute yourself because I want to making sure you're getting as much as possible from this workshop. Just so I figure out how long time we need in order to get into each use cases, I'm going to ask you some questions. So we're going to have 3 use cases. So we're going to do a low fidelity insight project using Claude. Then we're going to do a feature enhancement project using v0.dev. Lastly, we're going to do a 0 to 1 product build using Lovable. For the first use case, can you just drop in the chat yes or no? Do you already have an account with Claude? Yes, okay, perfect. Awesomeness. So most of you already have, okay, so no, okay. We have, I think most people have account with Claude, but not a lot, not everybody. So give me a second. I just find the Claude page. I'm going to drop the website here. So Dorcas, if you can just go to this website and register. This is free. They have the free version. Obviously, they have the paid version as well, but this is mainly a free version. So you can register it, and then you can follow along with the build section. Cool. So for anyone that don't have Claude already, if you click on the web link above, the Claude.ai, then you can register with it, and then we can continue. And then the next question I have is for those of you already using Claude, have you tried to do prototypes already? If you can just drop me a yes or no in the chat, so I kind of figuring out how much time we also need for the use case build, that'd be amazing. So do you mainly use Claude for back and forth chatting, or do you use it for prototype already? Not with Claude prototype. Okay, cool. Cool, perfect. Okay, cool. So in that case, I'm going to go a little bit slower. Okay, yes, once. Great. So we have a mix, only dashboards. Okay, cool, cool. I love it. So we have a mixed experience here. So the people who are more advanced, if you bear with me, I'm going to go a little bit slower to making sure that everybody get the most benefit of this webinar. And if you are not registered, just register now. And Claude for CSS formatting. Awesome. I love that a lot of you are already using it. So let's see if the way I use it is similar to how you use it, and we can learn from each other. So now we're going to do a project brief for you guys now. So as the product manager, you are asked to create an insight page for the admins for upcoming learning playlist feature, which showcase user engagement with the feature. So basically what I'm asking you to do is to create a Claude prototype that showcases a insight dashboard that shows how users are interacting with a learning playlist feature. So now I'm going to give you a little bit more context on learning playlist. Can I just get a yes or no in the chat? Do you use Spotify? I don't know if that's something it's popular where you are. No? Okay. Yes. Okay. So we have a mix again. Okay. So for those of you use Spotify, you already know the playlist feature, which is you can add a song to your libraries, you can personalize it. For those of you who are not familiar with Spotify playlist, the idea basically is like learning playlist is basically a copy of Spotify playlist. The idea is for learners to decide, okay, I want to learn, for example, Python. Therefore, I'm going to decide on YouTube, like for example, or Spotify, which one I'm going to learn first, which one I'm going to learn second, and you build out that playlist. So now as a page admin, I want you to build a playlist feature. And for us, wait, my computer freeze for a second. Okay, there we go. So for us, the instruction is we need to give a lot of context to Claude. So we're creating a new feature called playlist. This new feature enables user to discover, create, share personalized playlist of learning content We support a various format. So we have SCORM package, which is a very standard online learning type, videos, PDFs, URLs, and YouTube links. So these are the formats we can introduce for learning content. Playlist, just like Spotify playlist, it can be public playlist that everybody else can search for it, or it can be private, so only you can see it. Offering flexible, customized learning journey. Users can also explore curated playlists from administrators and their peers, fostering a community-driven learning. Admins can create centrally or manage playlists to ensure constant alignment with the organization goals. This promotes a dynamic, learner-focused culture and boosts engagement and knowledge sharing. So you can see I'm basically doing a lot of context. That's what I was mentioning to you before. And also explaining a little bit of the features in terms of how it's supposed to function, but I haven't quite tell it what the dashboard needs to be. So I'm now asking Claude, from a data insight perspective, what metrics should I show to learning admin? And this is where you need to be very specific. So for those of you have not created a prototype before, what you're missing is literally the last sentence. Are you trying to create a visual for it? So for example, if you already have a back and forth chat with Claude, now you can say, okay, create a clickable prototype for me. Or you can say, create a dashboard for me, depending on what you're looking for. So we're gonna do I'm gonna drop this in the chat. So you can copy and paste as well if you want to put this into your Claude. But I want to show you why putting this directly into Claude is actually not necessarily the best idea. But I want to give you the wrong example first, and then we'll talk about, in my opinion, what is the better way of doing it. So you can see here already, I have put in the prompt in Claude, and this is what it has come up with. And you can see that I'm asking it from data insight perspective, what metric should I show to learning admin, create a dashboard for me? Can anyone think about what could go wrong here? Like, why am I saying that this is not necessarily the best way of creating a prototype? What feels like missing here? Feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. I know typing will take a while.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you. I feel it's not really communicating. There's so many numbers, and when your stakeholders look at it, it's not really giving the information they will readily see. I don't know if I'm on track. Yes, yeah. Thank you.
No, exactly that. Like, really appreciate you. So that's exactly it, right? So this is the first mistake I see a lot of people making. And this is why I keep saying, like, before we even dive into here, I mentioned that there's another layer. Before you even use any of AI tools, you need to really think about what you want the dashboard to be, right? So a much better use case here is, if you are not too sure, I would actually copy paste this into ChatGPT to help me to reflect the idea. But ideally, as product manager, this is where you need to flex your critical thinking, right? You need to really think about, okay, what are the things I actually want to show in my dashboard versus let Claude just to make that decision for you. Because once Claude make that decision for you, your thinking will be limited by what it's telling you, and you're still trying to figure out, okay, which one do I actually want? Whereas you need to figure out what are the metrics you want to begin with. So this is the part we still want to use Claude for, but the rest of it, we want to depend less of it. So this is where I normally recommend, in order to also save your credit with Claude, especially if you're on a free plan, is you can leveraging multiple tools, right? So in ChatGPT, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what are the metrics I potentially want to showcase? And then I will put that into Claude. I can be more specific. So ideally, I want to do things like starting a new chat, and I want to create a dashboard. So from data insight perspective, I want to show, for example, engagement for playlists by department, because most likely AI doesn't have that context, because you can see if I bring up the presentation, it's not showing me kind of aggregated view of it. And you can also see that this is not the same as what I just showed you on my screen before. Then this is where AI is being AI, right? You can give the same prompt every single time, but it will give you a slightly different answer every single time, just like humans do. So this is why I would rather prefer to polish my thinking really, really well and be very specific on what are the outputs I'm expecting and then feed into Claude. And I can say I want engagement by department. Is there anything else that I feel like I want? For example, top, playlist, contributor, and top playlist, consumer, etc. Right? So now I ask you to create another dashboard for me based on the things I'm actually caring about. So you can see that it's now rendering. So for those of you, you've been only leveraging for chat, the only difference for you to do prototype is literally adding the last bit, which is what's the output you're expecting? Are you expecting a dashboard? Are you expecting a clip code working prototype? So I'll let that render. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to flick back into my presentation just to show you that once I put into ChatGPT, and I almost like, obviously before ChatGPT, I also think about what kind of metrics I actually want. I almost like chatting with a colleague to polish my thinking. After that, I feed all that context into Claude and I say exact metrics I want to showcase for the admin. Then you would get a much better view of what you're looking after. So for example, maybe for you, the most important thing is by department. Maybe for you, the most important thing is you want to see like more detailed view of for each content, what is the type that people are loving and really adding into their playlist. So you would get a very different view compared to the beginning version where you're getting. So for example, Claude have decided what's the percentage of a content format people adding to their playlist. As somebody who's data savvy, I'm sure you all are, this is probably the least useful information, right? Because like this doesn't really tell me anything. Whereas for me, I probably want to know which department really leveraging playlist feature. But this is where letting AI decide for you, it's not the best way for you to get most out of AI. Let's flick back to Claude to see if it has finished. Okay, so you can see it's finished, it's thinking now, and it's giving me like playlist created, playlist completion. So great, right? So these are the things that you can see that, again, this is very different from what I show you here again. And that's mainly because every time you give AI a prompt, it will think from the beginning and it can create slightly different answer every single time. But when you are being very specific, you can also see how like top list contributor, which I just mentioned, right? So in your company, let's say Sarah, we want to encourage people to learn and we want to encourage people to contribute to playlist. And how do you do that? Is every single month you probably give a shout out to people who are actively engaging with the feature. So by changing your prompt, you can see your prototype become massively different. And that's the reason why I keep telling people the tools when it comes to AI prototyping probably matter the least. The most important is human thinking. It's how you think about solving a problem. So it doesn't take away your thinking about, okay, what do I think matters the most in this use case? Like what kind of insight do I want to present? You need to talk to your customers. You need to talk to your people to understand what matters to them, solve that pain point, and then reflect that very critically and accurately into your prototype. Because if you let AI to decide it, it will give you something very generic and it's not very useful. It's pretty, but it's not useful. So that's kind of like the first use case, a quick version for AI. Any kind of questions on that one so far before we move into the next one, which is the high fidelity kind of prototype using v0.dev. Let me just flip back to the chat. Okay, yeah. I think somebody raised their hand. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, hi there. So very quickly, I wanted to ask, so essentially, mostly as a BI person, what I use Claude for is, for example, whenever we have a project that we're currently working at where I work, so like I try to use Claude to give like a visual, like interpretation of what we're trying to achieve. Then I walk my stakeholders through that so that we know we have everything they need. But my question is, that's what I usually just do, use Claude for, show them the visual part of it. What I want to, what my question is, how do I, if for example, I want to take out, I mean, I haven't published any of the dash, but if I choose, I want to go from there. Like, is there a way where I'm able to publish it or I'm able to like put that into like a live? I haven't really explored that. So I wanted to ask if the possibility of that.
Yeah. So it's very straightforward. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So all you need to do is go publish. You hit the publish, and can you see the copy link? So if I copy this link into the chat right now, and can you try to click on it? You should be able to see exactly what the prototype page is.
Yes, I'm right there.
Yeah. So this is the way for you to share with your stakeholders. So let's say that you create a dashboard and you're like, okay, this is the finalized version, and this is where I want to socialize it. So actually, you will see later in Lovable, you can see some of my project here. I made sure a benchmarking project. So I have actually done quite a lot of the projects that I have shared with stakeholders. And the link actually has been used in board meetings where the board members are looking at the prototypes clickable and being shared with everybody to do user testing. So yes, you can share that in every single prototype platform, and ChatGPT included. So ChatGPT, let's say, I don't have it here. I have it on my working laptop. But basically, it's not enough time to cover in today's presentation, but I actually have built a synthetic user testing custom GPT. So you can see personally, I have created quite a few personal ones for myself, like personal life-wise, but I actually created a custom GPT for my company. So we can actually feed in a prototype, just like the link I just shared with you. Where did it go? I just share the link into the customer GTP for your synthetic user testing. So almost like mimicking real users, and they can give me feedback and they can tell me, okay, I like this, I don't like that. So yes, every single prototypes, you should be able to share links, and then you can actually leverage that AI for actually user testing as well. Not to replace real people, it's important to say, but it's probably give you a first pass on what user may think is missing from what you have shared. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No worries. Cool. Any other questions before we move on? Or we're all good? All good? Okay, cool. So next one, we're going to do a v0.dev kind of build. Can I just get a yes or no in the section if you have an account with the v0.dev already, so I know if I need to wait for you to register or we can crack on? Cool. I thought you are doing really well. You kind of like have lots of account registered already. Okay, but majority of people are no. Okay, how do you create customer GTP? If you YouTube it, there will be tutorials on how to do that. It's really straightforward. It's much easier than you actually think. So if you don't, we don't have enough time to cover everything today, but I'm going to drop the v0.dev. Actually, you know what? I think I already have it open on my computer. Just give me a sec. I know you can't see me clicking on my screen. So I'm going to drop this in the chat right now. So for those of you who don't have a account with v0.dev yet, can you please register so we can get started? And Esther, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. You said you mentioned you already registered with v0.dev. Do you want to unmute yourself and tell us like what do you like about it so far, what do you not like about it, so we can see if we can cover it as part of the case study. Also give everybody else a chance to just register for it.
Okay, yeah, you pronounced my name correctly. So basically there was a time I was learning about I took a course on AI. So that was where I got to open the account, and well, I did some things there, but I've not really explored it afterwards.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
No, don't worry at all. So I'm actually gonna picking on you now today. Do you mind being forced to volunteer on this project and we can work through it together? I want to see your thinking process. Esther, I don't know if you can hear me.
Sorry, can you come again? I lost you there.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying, do you want to keep yourself unmuted? Because I'm going to give you a task now. I want to see your thinking process in terms of how because you used v0.dev before. I'd love to understand your thinking process, how you would tackle this problem. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. So while we are chatting, we'll just give everybody else the chance to register for v0.dev. So I'm going to give you the project brief now. I'd love for you to talk me through how you would use v0.dev in this case. So as a PM, I'm asking you to create an enhanced filter for Airbnb. So right now, if I go to an Airbnb, where did it go? I lost it. Here we go. I'm right on the page. I forgot. So right now on Airbnb, you can see the filter is actually not in this page just yet. But if I say I want to go to London and I hit search, and filters come up here, right? And if I go to filter, these are the things that's happening. Like I can do instant booking, self-check-in, etc. Now, what I want to know is as a product manager, I would love for you to add in some enhanced filters, because we know that people are searching for things like elderly friendly or remote worker setup, or quiet and family friendly, or lively and nightlife heavy for Airbnb. And I also want you to create different options. I want to have 2 options for A/B testing, for user testing. How would you tackle this problem? What would your prompt be for v0.dev? Oh, I'm breaking. Can anybody else hear me okay?
Yes, Yuan, we can hear you perfectly well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
we can hear you from my end.
Okay. Either might be your sort of internet is breaking up, but don't worry. I'm just going to carry on just so that we're moving on with things. Hopefully you will be able to hear me very soon. So okay, yeah, don't worry. I guess the organizer, do we have a recording for this so we can sign out later, hopefully?
Yeah, Yuan, this session is currently being recorded.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, so hopefully you can see the recording after as well. So what we normally see, right? So this is going back to the example that I talked about before. What we normally see is people just create a kind of like giving the thinking power to AI straight away. So what we want to do ideally is that you need to think about where the filter want to go first, right? So you can see I put it here. Think on your own first how you would tackle this problem. Because if you don't think about it and you just say, hey, I want to create an Airbnb. So let's say I'm actually, instead of going to ChatGPT, I'm going to copy this to v0.dev. Just bear in mind, I actually don't have a premium right now. I'm probably going to run out of credit when I'm trying to show you this. But let's see how far we can go. So if I'm outsourcing my thinking power to AI, I can say, let me just grab the URL of Airbnb. So this is the thing when you come to prototype, you want to give it a public website. It can go crawl and learn information, or you can give a screenshot, right? So we can do both ways. So right now I can say, create a clone of Airbnb. Then I want to create enhanced filters for Airbnb, and then create enhanced filter options like this for Airbnb. So this feels like it's a good prompt, but it's actually not, because if we go back to the original what we talked about, number one, you outsource your thinking, right? You're not telling it where that filter needs to be. So going back to our building example, you're not telling which floor, the functionality, what is the user journey, how many rooms. You're not explicit enough for AI to do. So you may come up with something that you do not agree at all. And the last few times when I run the workshop, when we do this, let's see what the output is like. When we do this, what essentially the filter have come up with, AI actually add a filter section here. So you can select the filter options here, but then it comes.
Abba? Babe. Baby boy.
Sorry, please, someone is not muted. If you're not muted, please mute your mic. Sorry about that, Yuan. I'll just quickly mute the person now.
No. Okay, sorry, I thought it was a question. Don't worry.
No.
So what then happens, the problem with that is if you already have filters here and you're not thinking about it, I already select, say, for example, hourly friendly, and I collect search. Then there's another filter level layer here as well that kind of like clashes with your journey. So you need to really think about why filters on the second page. Is there anything else we can do? And also, if you go back to the homepage of Airbnb, and let's say we try to select London, and when you select guests, you can see that there's adults, there are children. So sometimes when you select children, that's already kind of getting rid of like almost like one of your filters already, which is family friendly. So you really need to think about where you want that filter to be. I know I'm like flicking around on different tabs on my screen. It's probably difficult to follow through, but I'm just waiting for the AI to render something. Okay, look, it's building Airbnb clone, which is great. So while that is being rendering, I just want to show you the output, just because obviously we're on limited time. I want to making sure we go to the last use case as well. But basically, the better way to do it is you think about where you want the filter to be. Then you chat with ChatGPT, trying to figure out, like, should user journey be designed? So how should the user journey be designed to making sure that there's a clean interface and making sure that filters are easy to be discovered? And also, like, you need to already know where you want this filter to be located, but you want to ask an open question to ChatGPT: where should this filters be located? And any other factors I need to consider when introducing this new feature, right? So once you have polished your thinking completely, no matter it's with ChatGPT or with Microsoft Copilot or Gemini, then you want to be very specific to say, okay, I want to build a chat interface for me. I want to add enhanced filter to it. And you want to making sure that only when the search comes back, the filter should only work when search results are displayed. And then you can give it a screenshot, right? So for example, this is still rendering. I built 2 different versions. So I don't want filter to show up on the home screen. I only want it to show up after I already searched for a specific location, for example, London. And then filters function comes up. I can then select, and you can see elder friendly, remote worker setup, quiet, family friendly, all of this then come up, become preference. So that can be option number 1. Option number 2, we can have a elevated version of the filter. So I can say London. So this doesn't break how Airbnb currently work, right? They have done a lot of user testing. There's a good reason probably why they don't have filter on the home page, and you want to maintain that. And then we can lift this out to be the higher level filters. So filter chips, you can have elder friendly, remote worker setup, quiet and family friendly on the filter chips instead of belong to the filter. And then you can pass this for user testing, right? So again, I know somebody asked, how can I share? This is the same thing. So if I publish it, I can publish the changes. You can already see I actually have published this before. Like I'm going to drop in the chat now, and you probably can play with it. So the moment you search for any location, then the filter should pop up. So again, this is a great way for you to do kind of prototype, is you want to be really specific. You want to be very specific to say, still thinking. I don't know if I run out of credits or no, you should fund. Okay, so it's you still thinking. Oh, there we go. So it's called stay nest. But like this is what I want to show you in real time live, right? So it only worked 3 minutes and 16 seconds, and it actually create a mock-up of Airbnb for us straight away. And this is really, really fast, right? So now when I have it, what I normally do, if I need to create A/B testing, in order to not to wait again, and also want to reserve my AI credits, right? I don't want to burn it through really quickly, because if I give the same prompt again, it will go through the whole thing again. It will probably burn hundreds of AI credits, right? So what I then do is, historically they call it fork function, but now you can just call it clone. So you can basically duplicate this chat, and you can call it Airbnb clone filter. And if you duplicate it, you basically have another base. You have the same screen again, and then you can have 2 different chats now. Both chats does the same thing. So for example, you can see here, the title I have is fork of Airbnb. So I basically, once I create an Airbnb page, I then clone it straight away so that I save as many AI credits as possible. Then I will come in here and I'm kind of like tweaking it, right? So like, what do I want the filter to look like? So I'm using less credit, but I'm getting more work done. So here, for example, this is the clone version. You can see it's filter 2. So now I can see that, okay, somebody has raised their hand. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I have to little bit. Did you say you cloned the Airbnb? Then prompted AI to look at the cloned GitHub repository to continue your prompt. I missed the initial flow to where we are because of some network glitch.
Sorry, can you say it again? Which part did you?
I missed the initial flow, the initialization process before we got to this point.
Right. So how do we get to the clone?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, if you go back to the chat, can you see this? Basically, all of this. Oh, sorry. Can you put yourself on mute? There's a lot of feedback on my side. Thank you. So how do we get to that page is basically here. I just asked you to create a clone. This is the first conversation. I said, create a clone of, give it the URL, then creating enhanced filter like this for Airbnb. But I want to show you a bad example, right? The reason why this is a bad example, can you see where it's putting the filters? It's putting filters underneath the pictures, which I cannot select at all. So I want to give you a really bad example of how do you use AI the wrong way, right? Which is you're not doing any thinking in your head. You just give it a prompt and you can see it's not doing anything that you want it to. But once you give this prompt in v0.dev, you can unmute yourself now. If you go to v0.dev, literally just say, create a clone of Airbnb. And then it will just get this page for you. It will probably take a few minutes. 3 minutes and 16. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, we can continue now.
Cool. So this is how this page come up, but this is why I want to show you in the beginning, like what a back prompt look like. And this is a great example, right? Like this is not usable. Like give me a filter here. It doesn't change anything, right? Because I can't filter on things that I want to be elderly friendly, properties only. I can't filter here, like lifestyle filter. Oh, okay. I'm speaking too fast. It is here, but then it's kind of like really weird. It doesn't really flow well into the next one. So unless you're being very specific on where you want the filter to be, for example, once you have searched and then filter pop up, which is how Airbnb currently work, then they can be quite creative in terms of their ways of adding filter. But going back to what we talked about before, right? So if you want to create A/B testing, you just literally clone it, so duplicate it. And then you can change, maybe like say design, I want this to be different, like remove these filter chips, stuff like that. You can change on like a granular level, or you can just give it a bigger thing. So for example, I want all the filter chips to be selectable on top below the search bar, just making this up so you can see like real life, how quickly it is changing things. And also you can include screenshots as well. It's kind of thinking about it and making changes now. But basically you can do one on this version and you can open up the other chat you already have and give a different prompts. Then you have the same baseline and you have different sub kind of instructions. Then you can create A/B testing really, really quickly for kind of prototypes. But the trick is just to making sure that you duplicate it. This way you use much less AI credit. That's kind of the second use case. Does that kind of make sense so far? I know I'm kind of going pretty fast at this point because I want to squeeze in the third use case as well before we wrap up today's session. Any other questions? Feel free to mute yourself if you have any questions. Can we get the recorded video? Yes, this video is being recorded. You will be able to see the video later and you can slow it down. I do appreciate I'm trying to squeeze in a lot of content in a very short period of time. There's a lot of stuff, but I want to making sure that you see different ways you can leverage AI tool for, right? It's not just about creating a dashboard, which you have seen here, which is great. But then as a product manager day to day, probably what your business is asking you to do is, hey, can you create another feature to solve this problem? And then I want to see a few options for user testing, right? This is how I use AI tools for it. Now you can see, although this one didn't disappear, it didn't really understand what I mean, but I kind of like put all the filter chips underneath now, so I can select on the filter chips instead of opening up. So this is what I mean, but like you need to be very specific on what you need. So let's do a quick one more before we move into the next use case. Let's see if it actually works. This is how the live demo works. It can work, it may not work. So you can see now I'm adding a screenshot here. So I don't want filter tags under the properties. Take the filter tags. I'm going to say screenshot 2 out for our properties, please. So I'm basically taking another screenshot to tell it this is the bit I do not want. I'm adding a second screenshot and I'm telling it second screenshot too. So ideally, if it understands me, it will take all of these little tags off from the properties. But I want to also show you that with prototyping, apart from giving it a website, you can definitely do screenshots as well. And you just copy paste that into your chat and it will be able to kind of compute and figuring out what you're asking it to do. So I'm going to let it run, and then we're going to come back and have a look at it. I'm going to close all the other ones so it doesn't confuse you. So we only have one v0.dev window open. Oh, there we go. It's already working. So we can probably wait for it to finish. There we go. Can you see? All of that is gone. All of the tabs underneath it where there used to be tags or it says elderly friendly is gone. So it's telling you that you can combine the image with your prompt in order to get more precision when you are prompting AI. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, awesome, cool. So now, wasting me time, we're gonna go through the last build section. So the last one, this is probably more applicable if you're working for a startup or if you are having a side hobby project, your own. So my favorite tool to do this, 0 to 1 project, is Lovable. You can see that I'm actually having Lovable Premium right now because I do have a lot of credits. Does not mean Lovable is the best tool. There is pros and cons on different tools. We will talk about that towards the end. But basically for Lovable, I want you to build a new website, right? So let's say, have anybody heard of this website before, which is called borrowmydoggy.com, just to figure out how much context I need to give you guys? No, okay. So borrowmydoggy.com is an idea where dog owners, when they go on holidays, they don't want to pay for doggy hotels. So they want to find neighbors or whoever else who wants to actually borrow a doggy. But those people don't necessarily want a dog full time because they don't want a commitment, but they don't mind watching dogs part time because they enjoy the dog, but they don't need to pay for it. So it's like a free platform for everybody. The idea behind it is, as an owner, they can list their dog on the internet and say when they can borrow the doggy. And then as a borrower, they can also say when they want to borrow the doggy. Now, as a PM, your task is to create an entire new project, but called Borrow My Cat. It's very similar, but for cats, right? This platform would allow cat owners to list their cats for borrowing when they're on holidays, and interested individuals can register and apply to borrow a cat. So this will, so like in general, again, I would want you to, before you talk to AI, you want to draw on the blank paper how you want the homepage to work. You want to go through ChatGPT to refine your thinking. You need to think about all the functionality you need. But at the same time, I also want to show you, even with a very basic prompt, you can get quite a lot out of Lovable, right? So I'm going to give this prompt now, which is what I just showed you. And you can see once I put this into Lovable, and also let me just drop this website in the chat now. If you have not registered for Lovable before, definitely I recommend you register for it. It's also free. Can you just give me a yes and no in the chat if you're using Lovable right now? While we're waiting for this to spin up, I will work in website. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So Lovable, okay, So yes, some no, some yes. Yeah, so I don't know what everybody's thought about it, but personally, this is definitely my favorite platform for prototyping by far. And I want to show you a really cool function as well. The cat prompt, absolutely. It's here. So again, as I mentioned before, this is not my preferred way of prompting Lovable. Normally, I would upload a PRD, so product requirement document. So what I would normally do, in my opinion, the best practice, also making sure your AI credit kind of gets stretched out more, you get more out of your credit, is to think about exactly how you want to build it, almost like drawing your no matter Miro or Figma, you almost have some thinking how you want the homepage to look like, how do you want the customer journey to look like. You then put that into ChatGPT, refine your thinking. You know, what are the functionality you allow owner to do? What are the functionality you allow borrowers to do? You write a whole PRD for it, then you can attach that as attachment into Lovable and say, hey, I want you to build this website, read the PRD that's attached and create a functional app for me. When you do that, you will get much better output than what I'm showing you right now because limited time. So I can't really show you an end-to-end PRD process, but you will see is kind of thinking about it. But I will show you what I've already built with very simple prompt with Lovable. And this is Lovable building it already. You can see it's quite similar to this version. So both Lovable and well, I need prototyping tools. They can take a public website straight away. So if you want to copy a specific website, you can just give the website link in terms of structure functionality. If you don't have a website, you can also Lovable. I'm going to open a new one. You can also give it a screenshot as well. So for example, I can actually come in here and I can do a screenshot. So we can compare different prompts. Oh, it's failed to upload. Failing to upload, mainly because I think it's still working on this one. Yeah, so I can't really stop it. Once it's finished, I can also show you that you can actually upload a screenshot and give a very similar prompt, and it will create a very similar website. So don't worry if what you have, it's not a website already exists for you to potentially copy the structure. You can actually just give a screenshot of what's in your mind, and it will create exactly what you're looking for. But I actually have connected Superbase to this. Can you just drop like a yes and no in the chat so I know how much information to give you on what Superbase is? So I have connected to Superbase. No, okay. So let me show you something really cool. So you can see like all the, I'm gonna drop this in the chat right now. Like all of the prototypes, right? I can publish the website onto the internet. And I already have this published. So with Superbase is basically a back-end database tools. So let's say right now, if I want to join, I'm going to create a temporary email. So temporary email is just the website, give me some temporary emails that I can use, like burn off into like emails I can use. So right now, if I'm gonna use username and password, it says 1 second. This I need a new one. I want a new one. Refresh, change email address. I want to give you a new email address so you can see. If you have a prototype but you have not hooked up with the backend with a like database or API, then this registration process would not work. It's not working, is it? 1 second. Let me get a new email address here. There we go. Right. So if I'm getting an email address, is this the one? Okay. And if I click sign in, oh no, I need to sign up. Let's say this is the email address, password, and I'm going to do a test November. And I say I want to create an account. And you can see registration is successful. Check my email confirmation before I log in. If I come here, you can see if I refresh my inbox, it should have a registration email coming through. Because if I don't confirm my account and I go sign in, it says email is not confirmed. If I come back here, can you see? I have a Superbase authentication email comes in that asks me to confirm my sign up. If I click through and I say confirm my email, confirm, then I can sign in straight away. And can you see I'm already signed in? So that's how you put things into production. You basically need to hook it up with Superbase backend. So all you need to do is basically, where did it go? You just need to connect to Superbase. So it's the cloud icon here. You need to connect to Superbase. And then in your chat, you can just say, I want to making sure that the sign-in journey works. I have connected my Superbase. I want you to create a database where I can host, your new registering information. So that's how you can hold on to new registered users. They can, register as owner, as a borrower, whichever path that they come in, and you can make sure this is not just a prototype, it's actually functional as well. So people can actually create an account, they can log in, they can actually see the pages like this one, because now they register as an owner, they can actually I have not changed the user role here, but they can decide to be a borrower, a cat, list their cat, or doing something else. Yes, so Superbase is basically a backend database. Without a backend database, it would not work. So for example, this one is the one we just created, right? Do you remember? Like this is the one I just created. Right now, if I go publish, and I publish it, and I can drop this in the link in the chat, you will see this doesn't work like the link I sent above, right? Let's try this together. I can guarantee you it doesn't work because it doesn't have anything to hold information. It's just a blank 404, right? Get started 404. Like that. The one thing is as well, you have not given enough prompt to set up how this button is supposed to behave. So this is what I mean before by this is actually a really bad prompt, because all you did is creating a landing page. It's not a functional app like this one where I have fully built it out to say, okay, I want this button. When you click this button, this happens. When you click this button, that happens. You are not giving enough information like a PRD, product requirement document, to build up the whole thing. And the second thing is if you're not linking up to Superbase, then it can't figure out, who has registered, who can sign in, things like that. So that's how you get things into production. Does that answer your question, Luna? Yeah, okay, awesome. Cool. I know we're running a little bit delay in terms of time. Are we okay just to finish the last few slides to wrap up, or do you want me to send out the last few slides? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna carry on. If you have meetings and stuff, feel free to drop off because you will have the recording. But basically, this is what I want to show you in terms of 0 to 1. I just showed you, and this is what I've been repeating this whole presentation. A few things you always need to remember. AI does not replace your thinking. You are not going to use AI properly if you are literally outsourcing your thinking energy to AI. That's never going to end well. So you always want to think about, where do you want things to go? How do you want the functionality to behave? And then give very specific prompt. The more specific you are, the more you're going to get out of your AI. If you want to do A/B testing, making sure that once you create the baseline, you duplicate it, so you save your credit rather than burning through thousands of credits again to create another prototype. You just duplicated it, and then you make small tweaks to it. Small tweaks are always using less credits than a blown up one. Will the app becomes functional when prompt contains PRD that has technical requirements in Superbase? That's a really good shout. No. So I have tried that before. I have mentioned the Superbase, but because because Superbase is integration, so you do need to set up your Superbase login. So like even if you include in your ChatGPT and PRD to say, I want to making sure you have backend database, it doesn't really know what is your Superbase login. It doesn't know what is your Superbase project name. So on Superbase is almost like a gigantic database, right? You probably have multiple projects. Like, what is the name of your database? Like, how many rows are you planning to put in there? All of that. Your PRD is not going to have that enough information. But if your PRD, maybe we need to give a different name, not PRD, but like if you create another document, so PRD refer to Superbase, Word document attachment, and then in that attachment you literally listed out what is the user name, login detail for your Supabase, how you linked together, what is your authorization, which project use is probably going to work, but I have not tried. So all I did is, after I created a functional prototype, not a functional product, a functional prototype which all the pages work, and then the last step I did is to say, hey, now I want you to link to Supabase. This is my project name I have created. So I have logged into Supabase directly. I have created a project for it. And then I come back and said, hey, can you link to this project? And I want people to be able to register using email and password. You can also ask it to say, I want it to go through Google signing. You can do that as well. So there's like there's opportunity out there for you to authenticate users different way to make a functional app. But Supabase is just one out of the many databases available out there. Personally, I find it's the easiest one to use for beginners. So I would say figure out Supabase, and then the rest you can figure out in the future. I've realized that's a very long-winded answer, but does that answer your question? Yeah, awesome, cool. So now we're going to quickly touch on the tool I have not shown you today is Bolt, mainly because it's the tool I like the least currently. So you can see yesterday, let's see if I can open it for you. Yesterday, I actually asked it to create the borrowing platform. I gave the same prompt, but it hasn't even finished the thing, and I already run out of credit. I don't know if you can see it. Is incomplete. So basically, Bolt, in my opinion, at this point in time, when AI first came out, Bolt is actually my favorite platform. So you can see setting up authentication. I have lots of problems as well. Anyway, at the beginning, when AI first came out, I would say Bolt is one of the best ones. This is back in February this year. Bolt was my favorite, but over time, I feel like they're not innovating fast enough, in my opinion. And also their credit doesn't go as far. So this now is my least favorite platform. I don't actually recommend it. I recommend Lovable the most if you are not technical, you are more product manager. And if you're more technical, I would recommend V0.dev, especially you want to put things into production. And I would say V0.dev, the code is more usable as well. So I've been talking to a lot of my engineering teams. They definitely prefer the output of V0.dev versus Lovable. So it really depends on what you need. Lovable, definitely more beginner friendly for product managers. V0.dev, there's a learning curve to it, but you can also have better kind of cross-team collaboration. So I would stick with these two for now. If you want to play with it, you can also register Bolt. I'm going to give you the website now. Not my favorite, but AI moves so fast. I just dropped the link in the chat now. AI moves so fast. It's really worth for you to keep testing, keep trying different tools and figuring out what you like and what you don't like about it, because it may change, right? My favorite tool in February now is my least favorite tool. You never know. And then the other thing to put into production, I just showed you, you can put that into backend database. And for those of you, if you like to use things like Cursor, you know, like to kind of like prompt to build code base and be very hands-on to like make customization and really have a lot of control over it. Then I would say you can also put things into GitHub. You can download a local version onto your desktop. You can use Cursor to click codes, and then you can push it into GitHub again. It's always really good practice anyway. You don't want, you know, code to just sit on your local desktop. So you want to making sure you have GitHub. You can push all the code into it. So Lovable, V0.dev both have integration with GitHub, which is really, really useful. And lastly is once you get a domain. So for example, the ones I showed you so far, you can see all of them. Like borrow my cat, for example, it's all .lovable.app. So if you want this to be a customer domain, you definitely can. You just need to go to places like Netlify, Vercel. They can host your application on their platform, and you can also link to a specific domain that you're hosting as well. So it's very straightforward. So that's pretty much what you need to do to get into production. You just need to, I can show you all the steps, but the things, unless you do hands-on experience, you probably wouldn't remember. But I would say these are the main things, 3 things you need to think about to get a fully functional app, not just a functional prototype. And last slide to wrap up today's presentation. You also need to think about process, right? It's not just about the tools. So you really need to think about your end-to-end product thinking And personally, I would reiterate, which is think about how you would solve the problem first, because critical thinking is something unique to you and it's a superpower that you have. And then you chat with a chatbot using kind of a lower powered model like ChatGPT Turbo, 3.5 Turbo. That is enough for you to have a back and forth chat. If you want to build prototypes, maybe 4.0 is better. But then you want to making sure that process is established. You know what tool you use on every step of your journey. The other thing is, if you're working for a enterprise, a big company, right? You always have your design partner, you have your engineering partner. When you increase your throughput, so let's say you can do your ideation much faster, you can give them polished stories much faster, your engineering team may not be able to keep up with it, or your design team may not be able to keep up with it. So you want to making sure that you are working collaboratively with everybody else around you, so you have the maximum throughput as a team versus you having a big throughput by yourself. And the last thing is, the time you saved is probably going to be segmented versus a continuous block. So yes, you'll probably be able to save some time here, some time there, but it's not continuous block. So this is something I'm working really closely with our leadership team right now, is thinking about how do we recreate product management role so we can free up a block of time that they can work on other things versus they save sometime here, sometime there, then they're in between meetings, they can't really use that time. So again, if you are doing people transformation work in your company, this is something to think about as well. So that's pretty much it for today's presentation. I believe that's the last slide. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I want to see if we have any questions that I can answer. Happy to reshare my screen as well if there's specific slides that you want to look at, but yes, I will definitely export the slides and share with the organizer after the call so you can all have it. Anyone have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. Happy to chat through anything. Yep, go on, David.
Okay, hi, good evening, good afternoon.
Hi.
I wanted to say, when you started, you said we had to use ChatGPT to refine our ideas. Then, so are we going to use ChatGPT to like re-edit or modify the prompts we are going to use on cloud or any of the AI tools you said?
Yeah, sorry, I overgeneralized it. So when I say ChatGPT, I just meant any low model, any very easy model that you can use. So it's not actually ChatGPT. You can use DeepSeek, you can use Microsoft Copilot, you can use Gemini. Right now, my favorite is probably Gemini, just because it's the cheapest in terms of what you need in order to get maximum output, in my opinion. You probably get more with Gemini than ChatGPT at this point in time, based on the model selection. So it depends on what you use. But yes, it's not just ChatGPT, it's any model that you use. I would not recommend you have that in Lovable, for example, but you can use the Lovable chat mode. Let me see if I can bring it up. Just give me 1 second. Let me share my screen again. Entire screen. Can you see my screen now, hopefully? Yeah. So can you see that there's a chat button here? So I can actually select chat, and then I can have a back and forth chat with it. It would not change anything on the page here. So for example, I can literally just ask, like, as a, I don't know, pet owner, what do you think about this page? And it would not change anything. Or I can even say, like, okay, like, what if I have all of the buttons be blue? Would that be a problem? It would not change any of these buttons to blue, actually, because I'm on the chat mode, it's being highlighted. But can you see that it's actually powered by Claude Octopus 4.5? That is still a way too powerful model. I mean, yes, you can use it, it's great, but it's still using a lot of credit. Personally, Claude 3 is more than enough for you to have a back and forth, polish your idea conversation. It doesn't need a powerful model like 4.5. So yes, you can still have that, but then you're going to burn credit really, really fast.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. That's a great question. Any other questions? Yeah, go on.
Hi, Yuan.
Hello.
All right. Thank you so much for the wonderful section. It has really been insightful. My question, I don't know, maybe you've probably talked about it earlier and I missed that. So assuming I want to move the product I build with Lovable to a different environment just for security reasons, how is that possible?
Can you repeat your question again? I don't think I follow.
Okay, assuming I use Lovable to build a prototype or a product, right, to my requirements, then I want to move it out of Lovable, probably to be a standalone a product on its own for security reasons.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? How do I go about that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. There's multiple things you can do. The first one is at the organization level, you can actually have Lovable Premium. So that once you publish the Lovable link, only the people in your organization can access it. So that's one thing you can do in terms of security. So even if somebody, for whatever reason, got the web link that you actually created, they're not able to access the prototype you have created. Only the people within your organization can. That's one of the Lovable security setting. But if you are on the free one, that's probably not much you can do, because that's kind of like a public one. You can make it private projects, but then you can't really, once you publish it as a web link, that just exists out there. You can also take it down though, so you can unpublish it, and then people can't access it anymore. So like the best, I guess, security way, the only way that I personally know, there are probably more ways I know of, it's if you go for Lovable Premium, then you can have a organization level security lockdown, so nobody else outside of the organization can actually access your prototype. Cool. Any other questions?
Okay, I think we don't have any more questions. Okay, hi Yuan.
Hello.
So I'm the what's it called? One of the organizers. So I'm messing it to attend to something, so I'm taking over. Thank you so much for your time and effort. I know we had to like rush you because of the time zone thingy. So thank you very much. It's been an engaging session. Even myself, I also was able to learn a couple of things, how to navigate prompting to some extent. So these are the things we most likely product managers lately need to start understanding, because the world has gone beyond writing just documentations and PRD. Stakeholders want to see what you're thinking. They want to have an experience and then give suggestions. And I think this is a solid session, which I'm really grateful for. So thank you so much for your time. It's been really engaging. It's been quite fascinating, and I believe the participants also got to build something for themselves, have an experience. And should in case they have any other question after this, we could maybe most likely write you an email, and then maybe you can detail it there. But after the session, we're going to send out the slides as well as the recording. And I don't know if you would be also be needing the recording for yourself. We could also send it to you, because it can be quite okay for some references if you need it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'd like to share my screen again. Give me a minute. And we go from there. Give me a minute, guys. Okay, so the session we're having is a 2 days workshop sprint. So we're having another speaker tomorrow morning. Though we'll try to send an email out after this so that you all can have an understanding of what we're doing tomorrow. As the program itself says, we are called Beyond Theory. So we're trying to think or do things beyond the traditional theory way. Hence why we are bringing hands-on experiences and hands-on activities. So tomorrow, it's going to be hands-on. We're going to be building agentic workflows and automation. So if you're a product manager who wants to know how to automate things, or you're a business developer who wants to know how to automate things using different tools, we have like the likes of Anything, we have Make, we have so many other things. We have Zapier for those who have used it before. It's really, really important for you to be there tomorrow morning. Communications will go out later today, and you can still add it to your calendar because it's really, really important for you to do that. It's really going to be super helpful. And the host or the anchor for tomorrow is called Chevron. He's going to introduce himself tomorrow morning when you guys meet him. Now, away from that, I'm also going to be sharing something about Beyond Theory ourselves, who we are, what we do, what the goal is later on, and everyone can also get to see for yourself what we're coming with. Give me a minute, and you're going to see me now. 1 minute. Share. Present. Give me a minute. Okay, so all right. So in Q1 2026, we'll be launching a program called Beyond Theory. And what does it do, right? Who is this program for? It's for program managers with basic foundational PM knowledge or experience, right? It's also for startup builders, tech professionals looking to upskill in AI, or anyone who's interested in building AI-powered product experiences, right? So if you want to be relevant in the next couple of years, say about 2 to 3 years, right now you cannot avoid building with AI. It's really, really the number one point right now, because every interview, every conversation you're having, AI is involved, right? Now, at the moment, this is the current problem we're trying to solve. Most PMs are not fluent with AI concepts,